Hey everybody, it's December 1st, 2025. Hard to believe we're almost at the end of another year gone by. So this is my monthly update video. I'm going to talk about what went on in November and what we've got coming up in the month of December. I always like to begin by highlighting three big things. So big thing number one, this is coming up soon. We still have a few seats left for our special one-day seminar on three key texts by Martin Heidegger, which is happening next Saturday, December 6th, and it's running for about half of the day. We're going to delve into some really cool stuff. I'll tell you more about that in the December part. Big thing number two is we've already started soliciting suggestions for the remaining three slots in Worlds of Speculative Fiction in 2026. This will be our 11th year of that series. So there's still time to get in on the action, whether to make a suggestion or to boost other people's suggestions. In December, we're going to take the top 6 suggestions and we're going to do a vote. And so you can weigh in on that. And big thing number 3 is we have a lot more online classes and seminars coming up in 2026, and I will be putting out an announcement with a preliminary schedule about which texts and topics and thinkers we're going to be covering, so you can plan ahead if you want to join us for any of these great online classes. So those are the three big things. Let's talk now about the month that's gone by. All right, November was a pretty busy month in America here. We always kind of lose a week basically because of the Thanksgiving holiday, which this time came at the end of the month. I actually give my students, a lot of time off during it. They actually get a break anyway, but I tend to give them a bit more time so that they can rest and relax, because I know their other instructors aren't doing that. We had quite a few events. We kicked off the month with an in-person event at the Frank Weinberg Library. I had to do it sitting instead of standing because I'm not completely healed up yet, but I got to do a talk in the Philosophers in the Midst of History series, which is also in its 10th year, finishing it up with a talk about Karl Popper, the great 20th century philosopher of science, among other things. We did our usual AMA, that's Ask Me Anything. Worlds of Speculative Fiction, we did Stephen King's The Stand, the complete and uncut version. That was a lot of fun. And then Scott and I got back together for classic metal class. We got that started back up again with a session on women in heavy metal in the 1970s and 80s, focusing not on women as objects, but rather as agents who were leading bands, creating great music, and even managing them as well. We also finished the online Aristotle and the Moral Virtues class with our 8th session in November. That was a lot of fun. We've run that class 4 times now. We might run it again in the coming year, or we might, wait a little while. My academic classes are getting close to the end. We've got another week and some change after this. So really, the big push is in November to get things underway. I got a lot of writing done as well, including some reflections on my recent fall and, surgery and recovery. But I also got a Letters to a Young Philosopher entry published as well. So those are from my Substack paid subscribers. I mentioned the surgery, so I've been healing up. That happened back in October, and it takes a while for a 55-year-old body to heal from a not just major surgery, but significant trauma that necessitated the surgery. But I'm getting around on a cane and slowly building up my strength and stamina. I'm definitely not anywhere close to where I was in the past when I was walking, miles each day. But, it's slowly coming back. and I got to spend a little bit of time one day over at Almost Home Cat Rescue, catching up with some of the cats, including some that I already knew, and meeting the new kittens and new residents, some of whom have already been adopted at this point. So that was really great to do. Video production, you may have noticed I've been doing a lot of shorts videos, and I've been doing those in part because I don't have to do those over at the office, which I haven't been in all that often as I'm still doing recovery. I can shoot those here, and I've been focusing on a topic, doing deep dives into various aspects of Stoicism, the cardinal virtues, and the subordinate virtues. So we released a lot of videos having to do with Cicero and On Duty's Book 1. We started releasing some having to do with Marcus Aurelius and the Meditations. And so we're making some good progress with those. But I also got 2 book review videos done. Very happy about that. One, I gave a glowing recommendation to Chuck Chakrapanni's excellent new book on Stoicism, and I gave a somewhat, still good but not glowing recommendation to E.B. Bartle's Good Grief, which has to do with animals and grieving. I also released 3 Sadler's Stories videos, 2 of which I shot here, one of which had to do with Halloweens, and my memories of those used to be one of my favorite holidays. Also about berry picking and eating and stuff like that. And then I, had some interesting memories like bubble up for me, and I thought, I'll do a video about how I used to use a chainsaw and how much I liked that. So that's the video production for this month. Of course, the events videos as well. We got good footage for all of those. Podcast work. In the Sadler's Lectures podcast, you may have noticed a little bit of a change in pace. I have been taking some of the video footage and also audio footage from talks I've given over the years, including guest sermons, and editing them and releasing them as Sadler's Lectures podcast episodes. So stuff on Rilke, on Stoicism, on anger. I also released a number that I'd never gotten to on Ayn Rand and the virtue of selfishness. I did 7 podcast episodes on that. Also some on Thomas Aquinas from my recent videos for my class that I've been teaching. And we finished up those on Eloise and Abelard, the 2 great medieval lovers. I managed to also produce 1 Mind and Desire video for my Substack paid subscribers, and I'll be releasing that to the public, within the next day or so as well. What do we have coming up in this month of December? So we kick off, actually, before we get to the Heidegger thing, which I'll tell you about in just a moment, we got another really, really cool event coming up this week, which is on the 3rd, a Wednesday. This is one where I'm coming on to somebody else's program, the 52 Living Ideas. I'll be talking with my friend and colleague Joe about the late, great Alistair McIntyre and how to go beyond after virtue if you want to get into his works. That will be happening at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. So I'm going to give you all the times in Central. You got to figure out the time zones if you're not living here in this area. But that's going to be a lot of fun. If you got questions about Alistair McIntyre, you want to get to know more about this wonderful 20th century philosopher who made so many contributions, you should go to it. And if you don't make it, well, we're going to also hopefully get a good recording of it as well. On the 6th, Saturday coming up, like I mentioned, we still have a few seats available before we hit the closure cap, because we don't want it getting too big, for this special Heidegger seminar. This is something new that I'm doing in the sense that I haven't taught a for the public online class on Heidegger. I've taught him many times in my academic classes, going all the way back to my prison teaching days, believe it or not, over 20 years ago. And that will be beginning at 9 a.m. The link to it is below if you want to enroll in the class. We're going to be looking at what is metaphysics, the question concerning technology, and the origin of the work of art. So if you want to travel along through these texts with an expert guide, you probably don't want to miss this class. The following week on the 13th, that's also a Saturday, at noon, we'll be having the AMA session, Ask Me Anything session. You can pop into that, get your questions out there. Only need to ask once. Some people like to get a little antsy about that when they don't get their question answered right away. And then we'll follow that up at 2 p.m. with a philosophy chat session for my Patreon supporters, a little bit more intimate. They get to ask me about whatever they want, and it's video conferencing, so that's a nice perk for them. On the 20th, we are finishing up this year of Worlds of Speculative Fiction by looking at Lois McMaster Bujold's two of the books, not the entire series, but the World of the Five Gods. We are going to be looking at two of them in particular. If you want to join, you can, there's a link to the class that you can join, and you get all the information there. So that will begin with a video premiere and live chat, and then switch to Zoom for a more intimate conversation to continue our discussion. And then the following day, Scott and I will be getting back together and doing another classic metal class. This time we're talking about the topic of ethos and projection, and bands that for one reason or another don't quite measure up to it. For example, bands that portray themselves as tough guys who really turned out not to be quite so tough, or, bands that projected this, party atmosphere and actually were quite sober, which we're not going to say is a bad thing, unlike the tough guy thing perhaps, but we're going to talk about the disconnect between image and reality. So those are the things coming up. I might, add a few other things in depending on how ambitious I get, but that's already quite a bit. I've got my academic classes ending. I've got grades to get in for these students, and a good bit of emails back and forth. Oh, I'm so far behind. Can I catch up? I actually have a quite generous late work policy, so the students can always catch up if they want to. But it takes a lot of time and attention away from other things. I'm hoping to get to almost home for some more visits with the cats. I'm probably not going to be up for doing shifts until the new year, but I want to get in there and see the cats and kittens and hang out with them. I do, a thing that some people call cat whispering. I actually call it sweetening, because I take the cats who are kind of afraid or shy or traumatized, and I work with them and try to get them to trust people and unwind. And seems that that's one of the things that I'm good at. So I'm going to go in and do some sweetening, hopefully, and it's nice for me to see the cats and also my fellow volunteers and catch up with them. Video work, I will be doing some more book reviews. I got 2 done last month. My goal for this month is actually to get twice that, 4 book reviews, because then I can start getting caught up on all these books that people are sending me. I'll be doing some more Sadler Stories videos. Not quite sure exactly what topics yet. Maybe something having to do with the holidays. I'm hoping to do some Ideas That Matter interviews, but that very much depends on scheduling and when I can be in the office and how long and when people are available. So that might also have to wait until the new year, but hopefully we can get one done before that. I'm going to try to shoot some core concept videos. I know I said last month I'd do that, but I wasn't really up for standing in front of the chalkboard for extended periods of time. Healing is taking a little bit longer. I think I might be up for, standing 10 to 15 minutes, maybe towards the end of the month. We'll see what happens with PT and all that. If so, then I will be doing videos on Thomas Nagel's What Is It Like to Be a Bat, which a tutorial student had me work on with them, and I was like, yeah, that could be a good one to do. And I've got some lined up on Jeremy Bentham's work, the unpublished stuff from his great master work, the introduction to the principles of morals and legislation. So the offenses against oneself section, which I had wanted to do for my class, but the accident prevented that. And I'll be doing more virtue ethics shorts, Stoicism and the Cardinal Virtues. I'm delving into Marcus Aurelius's Meditations in a way I think that nobody else actually has done at this point, going to the Greek and checking out all of this virtue vocabulary. So, some cool stuff happening there. Sadler's Lectures podcast episodes. You will be seeing some Anselm stuff coming out shortly after we finish up with the Ayn Rand, the last of which I'm releasing today. And then you're going to see some stuff on Stoicism, but also Martin Luther King's letter to a Birmingham jail and Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto. And, we might also get to some Aristotle stuff. So I've got plenty of raw material that is, ready to go after sufficient editing into podcast format. And if we get around to it, maybe we'll do the Nagel. We'll have to see about that, whether that works out or not. So that's all the stuff coming up in December. I'll have some more writing, of course, in the Substack. If you want to see it, subscribe. And I hope that it's a great and fruitful month and a nice close to the year for all of you. We're looking forward to, we've already got snow on the ground here and the river is frozen, so it looks like it's going to be a cold winter coming our way. And I will see you somewhere in the ether in some of these online events, or as you watch videos, listen to podcasts, or join in other ways.